to talk about a concept or a reality mostly, which is about giving, sharing, in always in the framework of art and creativity and things like that. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I find it interesting to see that when we are trying to get some feedback from people, well, okay, I'll take a specific example. Imagine you're starting your own company, you're an artist, you or an artist or a creator of some kind, whatever. And you just started your small company or whatever, and you're trying to sell your creations and doing your you know try to do a bit of marketing, which is obviously definitely not something you're comfortable with because some people told you, but you have to do a bit of marketing in order to sell your things because it's super nice to be an artist and create, but if you can't sell your stuff, you're not going to go anywhere and you're not going to pay your rent and the usual stuff we hear from family members, friends, whatever, good well-meaning people, but so it's not untrue that we at some point creators have to get out of the I stay in my bubble and draw all day. It is important to get out of there and be able to find a way to share what you do, and yes, be able to make a little bit of money in order to pay your rent and be able to be happy and have a happy life. The thing is, however, is that it is kind of complicated because the selling part is something that we tend to be, first of all, we're uncomfortable with it because usually, I'm not saying it's the case for everyone, but a lot of people are uncomfortable with, the fact of, first of all, evaluating, well, the value of what they do, the actual amount each of their creation is worth in terms of money and value. So that's a difficult process, first of all, to be able to not only determine that value, but believe in it, and then just know that, for you, it takes you, I don't know, 8 hours to draw something. I mean, you're not going to sell it like $2 because, it took you a lot of time, even if you did it with a lot of pleasure and a lot of fun. It doesn't mean that, it's something you're going to give, some. So I think what I'm getting at here is that this whole creative process, and not only the creative process itself, but the whole, selling process and the whole getting into business process is a very sort of intuitive thing in which you have to be able to walk the fine line between believing in yourself, believing in your work, in the value of your work, because each work has its own value, whatever. If some people like it, some people don't, that doesn't determine the value, in my view anyway. The value is determined by, just the fact that you're doing it, first of all, and the amount of pleasure and joy you find in it and what it brings to the world. For me, that's the value. It's a very personal vision of art, but whatever. So I think that's the first most important part, is that the value in which you really intimately believe, you give to your work. So that's important. That's a first step, definitely. Another important thing is to be able, yes, to organize yourself, to be able to have something that works, in terms of like creating, but also in sharing, in having some sort of boutique, or because I mean, you can create beautiful things, but if people don't even know where to find you or whatever, it's just not going to happen, and then you're just going to feel like a victim, like, oh, people don't like my art and I'm not being, recognize, whatever. But if you're not making things available, people, as much as they love you, I mean, they're not gonna buy your stuff because they just don't know you exist. So that's another part. Getting some sort of boutique or some sort of website or whatever. So those are the practical aspects that we, I don't think I'm bringing anything new here. I think anybody who creates and wants to somehow get a little bit out of it, in terms of money or recognition or validation or just simple interest or whatever, knows what I'm talking about here. This is just kind of obvious. The second part, which I want to talk about, I think is a little bit less obvious, because what I've noticed, and I've been caught into this trap myself, a couple of times in the last few years. I started doing this creative thing since 2014. So it's been 6 years now. And I have to say, for a few years, things were, I was doing my stuff, but I felt like nobody recognized my work, that, I was not selling, things were not happening. And so recently I've redone my whole, marketing thing and boutique thing and website thing. And, I enjoyed it very much, but, it was a lot of work and whatever. So, and believing a little bit more in myself and the value of my work, which was not necessarily the case before. So this is why I'm sharing this, because this is for other creators out there. This is something I want to talk about, because I guess a lot of us are in the same situation. But the unique aspect I wanted to talk about in this case is the fact that when we're finally in business, in all the senses of the word, well, you have your boutique, you have your, I don't know, you have your whole setup, you have your social media, whatever platform thing, all organized, beautiful, and everything's super nice and everything. But then you're there, okay, now I have just a couple of months, just to make sure that thing works. I want people to know my stuff. I want them to be recognized. And, I want to be able to sell my things, because if I sell my thing, it means that it has value, which is, by the way, is bullshit, because I mean, things can have value without being sold. But that's another story. And so what happens is usually is that you're so like into it, you get really like worked out, and you're like, okay, now I have to sell, and I have to do some publicity, and obviously all these platforms encourage you to make like, these reposts or whatever, or boost, your post, and you spend a lot of money and like for the whole world to see your creations and stuff. I mean, it's not bad in itself. It's okay, once in a while to boost a certain post that you feel it's worth it and whatever. But what I found that, is really the most helpful in terms of having people actually acknowledge what you do. And it's very important that I give a precision here, is that this is not something that should be done in order to get recognition or value, okay, or to be valued in your work or in your. I'm saying just that it's a process in which if you start by giving, by sharing, by offering to people, you'll find it much more easier to get some feedbacks in return. And again, like I'm saying, the point is not to just like, okay, I'll be nice to like 3 or 4 people on Instagram, and I'll send nice commentaries on their stuff. This way they know what I'm doing. And it's not like in an interested way, sort of calculating way in which, but it's to really, really connect with what other people are doing. And because you have to remember that if I don't know who is listening to this video, but I mean, if you're a creator of some sort, and you're trying to, get a bit of, views out there or whatever, obviously this is what you're looking for. But I realized that when your goal is, focused on getting recognition, validation, sales, whatever, um, I'm not saying it's not going to work, but it might not work. What I found is that when people feel that you are genuinely interested, present, totally mindful in what they do, they find suddenly a an open ear and open eyes, and this is very, very pleasant to creators, because this is what we miss the most. This is what we find the most difficult, is that we pour all our passion or our love into something, into a process, and we feel like nobody gives a damn about it. That this is, and I'm sure I'm definitely not the only one out there. And so it's like kind of reversing the machine here, instead of like being another one of these creators who, narcissistic, wanting, egotic, wanting to get like attention and validation and sales and buy me, look at me, love me. It's just to get out of this pattern, just get out of this mode, and instead just be like totally conscious of the value of your work and enjoy it and do it. But take some time during your day in your creative process to actually either answer to people who comment on your things, if you're lucky enough, or go on the social medias, find some creators you like, that you really enjoy their work, and just look at what they do, learn from what they do, comment on what they do, compliment them, tell them why you like this particular work of art. Why to you this is why this is something that vibrates, why this is something that appeals to you. And if it really authentic and if this really comes from your heart, you'll see that people will just like feel so happy. And you know what? You just made someone's day, or at least someone's hour. I don't know. But for some people who are still not recognized or a bit shy out there and share their work in a very timid way, doing that really makes someone's day. And I've been there. And so this is my sort of my suggestion or invitation as a creator myself, is that instead of like focusing on marketing, strategies and trying to have like 1,000 boutiques and spending a ton of money on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, boosts your posts and things, which is not in itself a bad thing, like I've said, but it's complementary to the process. But I think what the value, because it's a humane and really personal value you bring to other people's work, is that you when you comment positively on what people do, you bring so much to them. And inevitably, these people are going to be like, "Oh, this is cool. I mean, I like what she said," or "Oh, I wonder what she does," and then automatically they're going to be drawn to having a look at what you do, and eventually they might eventually even visit your website or eventually buy one of your drawings or whatever. But this is not like the purpose in itself. The purpose in itself is to offer, to give, to be generous, and to share all that you have, your love, your passion for art. Use a bit of that passion you have for your own creation to give it to other people in terms of recognizing the value of their work. This is priceless. This is really priceless because I feel it when I write comments to people that they really are genuinely touched by them, and that really brings uh, it raises their vibration. If you haven't seen my video on how to raise your vibration, this is definitely one way of doing it. Um, creating is a way of raising your vibration, but sharing, giving, offering, in your boutique, it's really nice to have like beautiful work offered to eventual buyers. But personally, I believe that having free material, I mean, it doesn't have to be like 100 pieces of art. I'm just saying a few things, a few touches of free material uh, gives people the impression that you're not there to just grab their money, but that you're there to just like that this can be a sort of a conversation in a way, in terms of like, here is what I give to you. I come into the relationship, buyer, seller, sorry, my table's moving, and you just come with gifts. You come bearing gifts. You come bearing um, offerings, and that is a generous way to interrelate with people, with your eventual buyers. And there's nothing that's more of a turnoff than having someone begging you for money. I mean, it's the same thing as in a relationship when a girl or guy is just like, just like trying to get at you and just like being like, oh, I love you and I'm so dependent and please tell me you love me and all that crap. How a turn off that can be for everyone. Well, it's the same thing with your art. If you're just like, if you're in a position of like victim who just desperately needs money and you want people to buy your art and recognize your art, it's almost like a sort of unhealthy parent-child-like relationship, where you're like this poor artist, who's not recognized, but then somehow somewhere out there there's going to be like a nice parent figure who's just going to be nice to you and buy you your art, you and that's probably not the most productive or let's say healthy position for you as a creator. My belief. So my belief is believe in your stuff, enjoy it, and raise your vibration by just totally enjoying with passion what you do. Yes, organize yourself. Yes, you can create a boutique. Yes, you can have some marketing aspects to your boutique. It's a nice complementing, aspect to your creator's process. But then after that, get into the giving, in the offering, give free stuff, you know, when you've made a sale and you're all happy, you know, when you sign your package, you know, make it beautiful, make it personal, perhaps write a little comment, you know, handwritten comments, something like that. That's where it comes from you. Or, you know, put an extra bonus in the little envelope, something that the person was not expecting, something special, a little something, a little hint of, you know, your kindness and your generosity. Okay, so that's my idea of the reason why I wanted to talk to you about this is because, you know, in the past I had this project I wanted to do where at the time, and I'm still very interested in tiny houses, you know, and my dream was to actually build a tiny house, you know, on the top of a cliff over a Nordic region, you know. That was my obsession, complete obsession. And the second part of my obsession was to have another tiny house constructed. You know, I don't know where I would have gotten the money for that, but anyway, have a second tiny house in which I could receive some people who would be creators or creators in the soul, but, you know, would have other types of job who could, you know, wouldn't permit them to be creators. And so the purpose of this other tiny house was to receive individuals who would want to come into a place in which it would be very inspiring and very beautiful, in which they could actually come and create and find some time and solitude and a very healthy sort of living lifestyle in which they could just come for, I don't know, a couple of weeks, a month to, you know, get, you know, recentered and discover different forms of art. And my purpose in this project would have been to actually be there for them, listen to what their endeavors are, and perhaps initiate them to different kinds of creations. Since I'm a multidisciplinary creator, you know, so I do photography, I do drawings, I do writing, I do ceramics, I do a bunch of things, you know. I thought that could be nice, you know, too. So that's a beautiful idea. And honestly, right now it's not happening in my life for different reasons. And I'm not saying it's not going to happen later in my life, but right now it's not happening. The reason why I'm talking to you about this is just because I find that there's a lot of value in um, sharing, you know, your interest for people's work and their creative endeavors. As creators, I think we have that responsibility and this mission in a way. I mean, I know it's a big word, mission, but, you know, I think this is because we vibrate to this. We are very, very generally hypersensible to this aspect of creativity and creation, how it raises our vibration, how it makes us happy, but how it also permits people to open themselves to all that they are. So I think that in our creative process, yes, we're here to create. Yes, we're here to live from it, if possible, to know the value of it, but we're also here to offer people the experience and the chance to be received and loved and appreciated in their own creative processes. So that means other creators like you, or other people who are not necessarily creators, but who want to try it, or who want to, you know, include art or creativity as a part of their lifestyle. One of the reasons I'm also saying this is because, as you probably know, I've created a Patreon community. And this Patreon community, for a very small amount of per month, permits us to have like a group, a community, which is able to share not only in terms of, well, you know, in this community, I share whatever I do, my creative stuff. Some of it is public, so, you know, it's the stuff that you find on my website or on my social media posts. But some material is exclusive, and it's material that's really unique to my patrons on Patreon, because this is material that I reserve only for them, and it will be exclusive photographies, street photographies, or texts, or thoughts, or reflections, or creative processes, or sketches, or things like that. And so that's one part of my Patreon community. But the second part of and it's not second but not least, I would say, is the fact that this community is here in order for people to be able to share as well. So in each of my posts, I always encourage people or invite people not only to comment, but mostly to see how that theme that I evoked in my post, is resonating with them, and how they have eventually a similar experience, or eventually if they want to share a link with a creation of theirs, maybe a drawing, a photography, or something they did, that really resonates with that particular theme. So again, what I'm trying to say here is that even if my project on the cliff, with the tiny houses didn't take place for now, I found that my community, my Patreon community, is a way to do this in a more virtual way, if you want. But in order to be there, accompany people, receive people, offer people some feedback, offer people some comments and recognition for what they're doing also in their creative process. And that is a complement to what I do on the social medias, such as Instagram mostly, where I like to interact with people's creations and what they do. So I think creating is beautiful, but it should always be a generous um, process in which you offer as much as you receive. And you're generous, you're giving, you're kind, you're mindful. And for me, it's a win-win situation. I mean, you cannot lose by being kind to people and encouraging them in their endeavors, right? So that's my thoughts for today. I wish you a super beautiful day, and see you soon. Bye.